How did Buster Douglas happen?
So, I mean, that's what the doc's really about. And it's really about the fact that the story, as people think they understand it, is not the story. Buster Douglas did not get lucky. It wasn't a fluke. He was a guy with tremendous talent and tremendous potential who, up until that point, when he fought that fight on February 11, 1990 in Tokyo, had never brought all of his talents to bear. And so, it's not a lucky punch. He beats Mike Tyson around the ring for 10 rounds. He dominates the fight. Other than the 8th round where he gets knocked down, he probably wins all of the other rounds. This was a situation which someone with tremendous talent, tremendous ability, who hadn't necessarily tapped his full potential prior to that point, somehow did it under these circumstances when the stakes were highest, when it mattered most, 23 days after the death of his mother, who was the most important person in his world. And he rose to the occasion in a way no one expected. No one could have possibly foreseen. And he fashions this transcendent upset, which I don't think has ever really been appreciated for how remarkable it was.
He was probably the 3rd best fighter in his own family. His dad was a fighter. His mom was tough. He might have been the 3rd best fighter, but when you watch the fight, you realize he is the better boxer. I always thought, and I've said this before, Tyson's maybe the most overrated fighter in history because once you got him past the 3rd round, he got nervous because then you were going to, but he stuns Douglas. He was loading up for one punch.
Right.
And you had to stay away from the one punch. Douglas gets up, and as you point out in the 30 for 30, maybe it was 12 seconds for him to rise, but he did get up.
You can see him. He gets knocked down. He gets hit by a tremendous uppercut. He gets knocked down. He's on the canvas. He slams his fist. He's not out of it. He knows exactly where he is.
Yeah, he's angry that he allowed it to happen.
He's angry that he allowed it to happen because he was caught for a moment admiring his own work. He was so completely in control that he lost a little bit of focus and, despite the entreaties of his corner, did not stay alert. And he got hit by the uppercut, but you could see him. He's doing exactly what you're supposed to do. He's following the referee's count. And he just beats the count because that's what you're supposed to do. You're supposed to take your time, and he gets up. The 8th round ends, and then the 9th round ensues, and it's one of the great rounds in the annals of heavyweight.
Yeah, and you have analysts there, you have writers who said that 9th round might have been the best round in boxing history.
It's unbelievable.
And then the 10th round, you can see Buster Douglas. He has gotten his confidence back, and he's even describing it, and he's going thump, 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 thump. Like he knew that it's coming. It's coming. It's coming. Boom. He catches Tyson.
He'd been chopping at him, for 10 rounds, wearing him down. Remember, Mike's got a huge
his eye is swollen.
His eye is swollen, nearly shut. I think it was his left eye.
But the fact that they didn't bring the proper medical equipment because they didn't think Tyson was going to get hurt.
Thought it was going to be over in 2 rounds.
They put a plastic glove with ice in it and put it on Tyson's eye.
There had been a school of thought for a long time that it was not a rubber glove, but in fact a condom. But in fact, that wasn't true. Aaron Snowell, who was in Tyson's corner for that fight, said it was a rubber glove, but they did not have an end swell. Of course, I've talked to Mike about this over the years, too. He says that wouldn't have made any difference whatsoever. It had nothing to do with the outcome.
That Buster was... Did he? I think there was a thought that Tyson wasn't really taking care of himself leading into that fight. That he sort of was mailing it in. Was that fair?
It's totally fair.
I think Buster was still the better boxer that night.
There's no doubt he was the better boxer that night. There's no doubt that Buster had. He's a better athlete than Mike Tyson. As physically as a presence, he's a much bigger man.
Yeah.
6'4" as opposed to 5'9", 5'10". He outweighed him by about 8 or 9 pounds in that fight. But, I mean, Tyson couldn't get to him at all. And, look, I think it's one of those situations. Buster Douglas at his absolute best, which we did not see very often, arguably only in this one fight. Buster Douglas at his absolute best against Mike Tyson at his absolute best, that's even money. That's not 42-1. We just, at that point, had elevated Mike Tyson to this pedestal where he was considered legitimately by learned boxing people the greatest fighter who'd ever walked the face of the planet based on, 5 years of professional work at that point.
Did anybody call this upset?
The only person who predicted it, he's in the film, but we don't get into the prediction, is Tim May from the Columbus Dispatch, who had covered Buster literally from his first professional fight.
And Buster from Columbus.
So I think Tim May really did think that he was going to win. Tim May, the great sports writer in Columbus, still there, just announced his retirement last week. But it's discounted a little bit by some people because he is the hometown guy.
For more Dan Patrick Show, tune to Audience Channel 239 on DirecTV or download the Dan Patrick Show app.